So I want to share with you one of my inner struggles as the global missions pastor here at our church. It is this idea that global missions impacts or competes with local ministry, other ministries of the church. You know that 1/3 of people think that within the church, global missions competes with other things that are happening. And I understand the complexity of that idea and how you might think about that and why there's a struggle. So for myself, I go, if I do more with global missions, will it actually hurt other things within the church? I know that when I think through this, a lot of times when I struggle with it, it's because I think of myself, I'm busy, and I'm not thinking biblically. I'm not thinking, what does God say about global missions, about how He's going to provide in our role within the world? When I think through Matthew 28 in the Great Commission, it calls us to make disciples of all nations. So I have to think globally within my view of the world. I also realize that there are needs around me and within my church that have to also be met. And so I actually think there's a balance there within both of those working together. And it's not one is better than the other or one will compete with the other. It's how can both of them work and how God will provide the funding, the workers, the ministry to happen. What I love about our church is that you actually see both of these functioning in a way that honors God. Because our global ministry is happening, that you give graciously to that we can support over 50 partners throughout the world who are doing amazing work, and we're seeing fruit of that work. But then on the community engagement side, we're seeing how we can serve our local partners in our community in a way that is changing lives. From our second Saturdays to our fifth Sundays that we're collecting items for our local partners, how we do a Love Works Day. All of this can happen. And what's amazing is that we have enough workers. We have enough people that are doing it that are allowing us to be God's hands and feet, both here in Fairfield County, but also throughout the world. And so I want to challenge you today in 3 ways. 1, can you pray and say, God, give me a greater view of the world, how you want to use me to bring the gospel to the world? And then secondly, memorize Matthew 28, 18 through 20. And have that in your memory so that when you start doubting, can God use me to impact the world, that you see through Scripture, He's calling you to that. And then lastly, will you actually start to serve either locally or globally? Serve within community engagement. Serve within going on a missions trip. See how God can use you. I know for myself, I've been able to be used by God on 30 different trips that I've done through our church, going overseas, but also how I've been able to serve with Urban Impact and our other ministries at the same time. They don't compete in my life. They actually allow me to fulfill the calling that God has for me. I believe He has that same calling for you. So this week, pray. This week, memorize, and this week, serve.